This is the 5-Star Brain Software Podcast, episode 114, direct from the Hypnotic World Epicenter, Toronto, Canada. Today, we'll be continuing our discussion on principles that will make you a better hypnotist. Stay tuned.
Hey, man. What's happening, Scroll? Went through a time glitch in the Atavachron. Now it's the summer of love again, man. Best of all, I got a raise, Scroll. They're paying me $25 a show now to do this. That's more bread than I made in an entire month when I imagined I taught physics at MIT. It's legal here in Canada, so get your papers out and let's get rolling, Scroll.
Thanks, Dave. That's a hell of a way to celebrate Benedict Arnold Day, I must say.
We are not tax collectors!
No, we're not. But welcome to Brain Software anyway. The hypnotic storm is brewing up a big blast of nasty, and we're here to make it all work for you. I'm Chris Thompson, and you've found the right station. And it's a service station, so come and get serviced. And before we get to the real point of this, I'd like to ask you a simple question. Whatever happened to that old trank? These are days of victory! All right, so please join me now, my friends, because I'm welcoming to the center of the hypnotic launch pad at 161 pounds, the world's foremost Gus Grissom fan, Mike Mandel.
Hello, what's going on? What's all this shouting? We'll have no trouble here.
Oh, man, I am so glad that we are back in this studio and we're recording part 2 of our Fundamentals of Hypnosis series. And the cool thing is we actually have no idea how many parts this is going to be. We might just keep it going as long as we've got interesting questions. And today we're they're coming in, and we're not actually going to tackle more than I think we've got about 4 of them on tap because we want to take them in a logical sequence. So a lot of those of you who sent in a lot of those questions that were sent in are a bit more specific, and we want to cover off some more of the basic principles of hypnosis first, but you will enjoy, I think you're going to really enjoy this series. Before we do that, though, let's talk really quickly about some of the things that are coming up. So, first of all,
how's AOH May going, Chris?
AOH,
Hypnosis.
For those of you who don't know, the Architecture of Hypnosis, that is our flagship live classroom training event, and the May 13th through 17th class in 2019 is well over half sold out at this point.
Well, you've been saying that for a while, so are you saying we're stalled on the sale here?
It's probably at about the 70% mark now in terms of being full. So we're going to take 35 students in the class. Just for full transparency, those of you who are wondering, we're going to take 35 students. When it's sold out, we will shut her down.
Shut her down.
That's going to be a great experience. Now, we have also said we're raising the price January 1st, or whenever I get around to actually implementing that probably on vacation.
Today's December 4th while we're recording this. Yeah.
So we have about less than a month. I anticipate the May class will sell out sometime around the end of the month because it's probably a few people every week now signing up. And I am as soon as possible going to open registration for the June and the November class next year.
Wow, okay.
As soon as I can get the dates nailed down and the contracts signed for the room, I will open that up so that if you want to sign up before the price increase, you can do that. That would be my dream is to help people get signed up for, not my only dream, but one dream.
Have more to dream about life than that.
The other thing that's worth reminding you is that we are running a weekend training called Wizard School. Hurrah! And that's in April. It's April, right? Yeah, 27th, 28th, I think it was.
Right before my 66th birthday.
Right, that's right. The 27th and 28th of April, the weekend in 2019. It's also down at the University of Toronto campus, Queen's Park Circle area of Toronto. And it's going to be an amazing weekend. You can find out the details on that at mikemandelhypnosis.com/events. In fact, all of our events will always get published there. And we are, by the time this podcast is published, I think it's safe to say that we will have a page up for the Anthony Jacquin and Freddie Jacquin combo tag team duo superpower training weekend.
Wow.
We've got the Jacquins coming in from the UK, and they're going to be running a training the weekend of May 11th and 12th.
That's going to be great. And that would be great also for people who want to come in and continue right into Architecture of Hypnosis. And that's what's happening. We had a doctor just book this week who's coming in from Adelaide, Australia, an anesthesiologist, our student Michael. He's going to be coming in. So he's staying for the Jacquins.
Yes.
He's getting here early for the Jacquins and then staying
I think
for
a lot of people are going to do that, which is going to be amazing. So now what URL should I use? I haven't set it up yet, but by the time this is published, it will be live. So let's decide right here, live-ish, live for us, what the URL will be. I'm going to suggest MikeMandelHypnosis.com/Jacquin.
Is anyone going to know how to spell that?
That's what I'm wondering. JACQUIN. Do you think that people will still hear me say that and forget the C?
Probably.
Should we go? Should we make it respect for the father and just call it Freddie? But then people will go, is it IE or Y?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So
let's just cancel the event.
All right. Yeah, it's shut down. That's it. It's done.
Shut it down.
I say we go with Jacquin.
Okay.
If you can't figure out how to spell Jacquin, then you can't come.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough, right?
I want to mention too, Chris, you sort of sailed by this, but I want to make the point about Wizard School in April, which will be the 2-day course where I'm teaching the things I've always wanted to teach, but I need some people with hypnosis training so I can teach this to them because it's fairly advanced stuff. But the thing I wanted to say is the day after Wizard School is my 66th birthday. As you know, Chris.
Palindromic birthday.
Longevity is not a huge thing in my family. I'm in great health as far as I know. My mom died at 53, my dad at 57. You don't know how long Uncle Mike's going to be here. So if you want to come and train with me, you might want to start thinking about it.
That said, though, you're now at 161 pounds.
Down from 190.
You've been doing the 1 meal a day thing for a while.
Love it.
And we've been talking about this in our Wellness Academy, which is a private Facebook group for those of you who are members of our Wellness Academy, obviously. And you can find out more about that at MikeMandelHypnosis.com/wellness. But the key here is that you don't actually need to purchase any training from us.
No.
If you want to be part of coaching and have a group where you can participate and get conversation going with all of us, then it's wonderful. But otherwise, it really just involves eating real food, eating in a compressed eating window. In your case, you're eating in a 1 hour window or less for right now. But most people, you can cut that down to about an 8 hour window and it's totally fine.
Yeah, still get results.
And exercise at a high intensity level a few times a week. It's not about calorie burning. It's about getting your body metabolically in gear to burn fat. And keep
I'm a fat burning machine now, Chris.
Right.
I'm not even hungry till supper time. Okay, let's get off the commercials.
Yeah, let's talk about, we have to announce
contest winners.
Our contest winners. So a few podcasts ago, can't remember which number, we challenged you all to send us in an interesting list of 10 dinner guests. So they could be imaginary people, they could be dead people, they could be alive people.
And the lists flooded in. We got some great ones, but we've narrowed it down to three. We wanted 3 winners. We were only going to do 1 originally because we're kind of cheap like that, but we're going to do prizes for 3 people.
And we're not going to tell you what the prizes are because we're going to have to customize them based upon who you are and what you already have.
Right.
But it'll probably be
one of Chris's Teslas.
Yeah, it might be that's hilarious. It might be a deck of Ericksonian language cards. It might be a t-shirt. Could be something else. So, winner number 1, Mike.
Number 1 is Chris Quadros.
And he is the winner because...
Well, he put me on his list of dinner guests. That is an automatic win. But not just that. It's because he put me in the second position after Russell Brand, another Brit. And I think Russell...
Who's hilarious and smart.
He's very smart. Although, to be fair, Jordan Peterson sort of systematically dismantled him.
Oh,
but it's all right. No, it's not sad. I like Jordan Peterson too. But he put us both on the list. So, Chris, you're a winner. What's the next one?
Okay, the next one is actually, this is a fellow who's been mentioned on the podcast before because he sent in questions, and he's a fairly local fellow. This is Darren Goodchild.
Nicknamed Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, we call him Dr. Manhattan. Indestructible. He's awesome.
Yeah,
and he won because he included Tony Bennett.
That's right. Tony Bennett is the world's greatest living crooner. He's about 200 years old. He's still performing. He sang with Amy Winehouse and Lady Gaga. He's just amazing. So as soon as I saw Tony Bennett, Darren, I just ignored everyone else on the list and I said, "You're in. You are in."
All right. And maybe Darren can even pick up his gift in person if he was to come out to jiu-jitsu class on Wednesday or something like that. That would be great. Okay. And our third winner, Mike, would you like to explain this one?
Our third winner is Patrick Larson. Now where's
from Sweden.
Yeah, he's in Scandinavia. And we've chosen Patrick for undisclosed reasons.
That's all we're going to say about that. Really good list.
You'll be getting your prize, bro.
All right. So now let's move on. We have to dive into quite a bit of material about the principles of hypnosis. And Mike's making noise. He's always wearing jackets that make the most noise possible. It's so hilarious. So hilarious. Every single time you go to check your watch or something, you're just moving around this really noisy, plasticky jacket.
I'm going to play this later and before it's edited and see if I can hear anything.
You will. All right. So principles of hypnosis, we figured that we're going to start with a question from David, who sent in an audio question. David's in San Diego, and he asked a question about what exactly is hypnosis? What are the different models of trance? What do we believe? And I wanted to play this question here first because then Mike and I can talk about it. And I think it's a good way to start things off in terms of what exactly is hypnosis. So let's play David's question. David in San Diego, you're on the air.
Hi, Mike, Chris. The show and your materials are fantastic. My question is a little philosophical in nature, I guess. I'm really curious as to what your model of hypnosis is. Like, what lives in your head? Like, is it very trance-based as a state? Is it more like trance doesn't exist, the way that, like, James Tripp talks about, or Adam Eason a little bit? Or is it more like a fascinating singular idea like braid and monoideism? Or is it kind of like accessing the REM state from a conscious starting point like the Human Givens guys talk about? Like, in your mind, what is your model for like what hypnosis fundamentally is and why it works? Thanks.
Well, David, that's a great series of questions, really. It's fairly complex. It's one complex question. My model of hypnosis has changed continuously over the years. The one I liked especially was one I offered a number of years ago when I was a guest of my friend Arthur Perlini, who's professor of psychology at Algoma University. He took me to the American Psychological Association Symposium on Hypnosis in Toronto at their conference. And my definition was, the one they were working with was hypnosis. It's not what you think it is. It's what you think it is.
That was their actual definition?
That's what the guy said. I really liked it. The speaker said that. Beyond that, he said nothing really of any value.
Okay.
But here's the one I like that Arthur particularly liked. Hypnosis probably does not exist, but if it did exist, would closely resemble that which I do. And the reason he liked that was it takes it away from being a thing and reframes it as a process. It is something that is ongoing. And our students know that we say, is hypnosis a state? Is it something you're in? Or is it something you're doing? And we always answer
correct.
Or yes.
Yeah, it's both.
It's both. And it's not a special state. And this is where my point of view is it's a naturally occurring thing. And
I agree with that.
Some people split hairs and they say hypnosis and trance are not the same thing. And these are people who just have way too much time on their hands. Bottom line is, with my model of hypnosis, yes, I think Human Givens has some great points here in answer to your question. The whole idea that it is using metaphor to depotentiate emotional arousal when we're asleep, and that it's the same thing happening in a trance state. We use metaphor. We exhibit the same phenomena. We get time distortion, amnesia, all of these things, paralysis like catalepsy. Whichever way we look at it, the bottom line is still the test of a model is its usefulness. So now I'm kind of at a point where I don't really have a single model of hypnosis anymore. I'm just doing hypnosis.
I think
pretty well all the time.
Yeah, let me add in a couple of things here.
You do that, Chris.
There's a variety of ways that you could define hypnosis and different models and all that jazz. The thing is, though, none of these models are perfect all of the time or even any of the time. They're not perfect any of the time, and there's probably no complete model. And let's work on the assumption that we will never come up with a fully acceptable to everyone model of exactly what hypnosis is. Yet we can all still do it. Whatever it is, it's still naturally happening all of the time. In any situation where you're engaged very deeply in some emotional state, having a conversation, an activity, watching a movie, whatever it is, or doing hypnosis with somebody for the purpose of therapy or change work or entertainment on stage. And there are just so many different ways that you can use it and create it. But pretty much in almost every single case, I would say, there is a sense of selective attention and heightened awareness and emotional engagement, which we're going to be getting towards. And what do you think about that, Mike? Should we dive in a little bit about the idea of how you create this thing we call hypnotic
trance? That's probably a good time to do that. Yeah.
Because would you agree that in almost every case, we very much teach a focus of attention. And that attention can be on kinesthetic things, feelings. That can be on eye fixation, like a braid-style induction that he mentioned in the question. Or
it can be on anything.
Yeah, it can be on an idea, right?
Sure. So
let's expand a bit about that. What are some of the things you would like to say about how we teach people to create a hypnotic trance?
Well, when we say, he mentioned monoideism, which is Braid's thing. He wanted to turn the word hypnosis into monoideism.
One single idea held in the mind.
Yeah. And by then the word hypnosis had stuck. Although, to be fair, Braid did not come up with the term. He was preceded by beaten to the punch by more than 20 years by a Frenchman, Etienne Felix, and then de Cuvier, if I'm not mistaken. He came up with the term hypnosis. But Braid liked it, and then he didn't like it and went to monoideism, but everybody had stuck with hypnosis anyway. But his point was right. He initially made the mistake of thinking trance was caused by eye fixation. But it's the attention fixation that's making eye fixation work because, Chris, we often do hypnosis with people's eyes closed. They don't have to be looking at something to tire the eyes, although that's a useful technique that we teach.
Yeah, there's no rule that says the eyes have to be open or closed. In fact, James Tripp, one of our great friends, he very much does hypnosis with eyes open with people. And he calls it hypnosis without trance because it doesn't look like he's causing this formal trance where somebody's eyes are closed and they're slumped down in the chair and they're all relaxed. But it's still a trance. And the principles that he's using are still the exact same principles that we've been talking about and teaching in our classroom. Right. We very much line up with our way of thinking and James's way of thinking.
And if you go to Ellman's book, Hypnotherapy, with the foreword by Gil Boyne, excellent book, and you'll discover that Ellman talks about establishing selective thinking.
Selective thinking,
So relaxation alone will not give you a trance. Remember, I said one instructor actually said, you will relax more and more. You relax more and more. You'll go into an even deeper state of relaxation. I wanted to kill him.
Something I just thought of right now, I want to run this by you. This is just a theory that when you're relaxed physically, it's almost like you're taking away things that you might focus on that would distract you from hypnosis. So if you can get into a relaxed state, then maybe you're not focusing on specific muscle tension or something that's bothering you or ideas, emotional things that are bothering you. It sort of wipes the slate clean and lets the hypnotist draw upon that slate something new, something to create the focus on.
Well, that's a really good point, Chris, because wiping the slate clean is also something that happens with a PGO spike. According to one of our students, the psychiatrist Christophe from France, who said that the PGO spike clears the mind to accept suggestion. So I think, too, there's probably an aspect of, I know no research of this part of it, but just as there is apparently elevating your eyes above, I think it was Dabney Ewan said, elevating your eyes so you're looking upward slightly will start to induce an alpha wave. And an alpha wave is very much tied in with hypnosis and daydreaming and so on. And then so it's theta. I think maybe a profound relaxation will also start to create an alpha state, which is
that'd be cool. Yeah, I'd love to know if there's any research on that. So let's get. You mentioned PGO spikes. Let's mention then, and this kind of fits in well with the idea that we teach people rapid inductions, where we often leverage catalepsy, which we'll get into in a moment. And then we teach instant inductions, which leverage the PGO spike, pons geniculate body and occiput.
Well said, Christopher.
This shock to the system that wipes the slate clean and leaves people open to suggestion in many cases. So let's talk about really quickly that. Maybe we should, I know we have to go to a commercial break in a moment, but why don't we quickly touch on the 7 plus or minus 2 model and how we can absorb people's attention using conversation.
Right.
And then maybe we'll talk more about instant inductions in another podcast.
Okay, we're back to George Miller, 1956. The magic number 7 plus or minus 2. The implication is that your conscious awareness, and this is our conscious unconscious model that we primarily use, an NLP model, which came more out of Erickson's hypnosis than anything else. As far as this model of the unconscious goes, there's a lot of overlap here. But if you think in terms of your conscious awareness simply being those things that you are able to keep in your awareness right now, that's your conscious mind, and it limits at about 7 bits of information. Some people,
and again, this is a model,
9, just a model.
It could be wrong. It doesn't matter,
right? And someone took me to task for quoting George Miller on this, and But the bottom line is it's a useful model. So the other side of it says that everything else is unconscious, the things you're not currently aware of. So if you think of having a flashlight that you can shine around an attic that has, or make it a basement, then it's more unconscious. With everything you've ever experienced, and this flashlight shines and can only illuminate 7 bits at once, that's what you're currently aware of. Everything else is unconscious. And what we like to do for one means of induction is we're shifting what is in conscious awareness and what is unconscious.
Exactly.
So all of you currently listening right now can suddenly change your conscious awareness by noticing that you can feel your feet inside your shoes, and you can feel your tongue inside your mouth. It just, bing, it appeared there. And you can be aware of the temperature.
And the volume of this podcast.
Right. That's right. So all of these things are moving from unconscious to conscious awareness. And by doing so, they're displacing something that is already there. And we can use this as a means to trance induction.
Right. So by occupying those finite bits of conscious information that you can keep in your mind at any point in time, we can continue to shift that focus to something else. Whether it's the sound of my voice, the temperature in the room, the feeling of your feet in your shoes. And then we can use that as an opportunity to drop in suggestion, because you can now go even deeper, for example, whatever it is that we're saying.
And I wonder how much you can amplify that particular feeling.
That's right.
And all of these are using conversational approaches to refocus the person's attention. Remember, we're talking about uptime and downtime here. So uptime is when you have no internal self-awareness. You have no self-awareness at all. And you become a feedback mechanism of the person you're working with. That's how I teach. That's how John Grinder taught us to teach. It's actually how Derek Balmer taught us to teach before him. And so when I teach, I have no self-awareness. I don't even know I'm there. I don't know I'm not aware until I think about it. And then I know I am. Downtime is the opposite, where you are directing the person's entire attention internally. It becomes a trance. All the feelings, all the evaluation of everything that's happening. And so which one are we mostly in? It's on a continuum.
Yeah. Now, the other quick thing that I'll mention here is we don't even often do this purely conversationally. You can sneak your way into trance by doing things like setting up catalepsy, asking to borrow somebody's hand, having them close their eyes, touching it in interesting ways that causes them to kind of not really analyze the fact that they're just holding their hand up and it's floating, but you haven't told them to do it.
Right. It just sort of happens.
And I'm kind of modeling this as I talk into the microphone, but the idea is quite simple, that you have their hand in an unsuggested cataleptic position. They're just holding it there. It hovers, and it's floating there, and hovers.
They have no need to put it down or do anything at all.
And you draw attention to it. As soon as you get that happening, you now draw attention to it. Then everything becomes conversational from that point on.
I think what you just said there, Chris, which is it's very much the point. You draw attention to it. So now we are using this kinesthetic sensation, this feeling in their floating hand, and drawing their attention to the feeling, which now increases downtime and amplifies the trance even more.
Exactly. Now, if you want to learn a bunch of these inductions, I will recommend that you go to MikeMandelHypnosis.com/LM, which stands for lead magnet. It means we're going to get your email address. LM hyphen.
So it's okay. Sorry, I had to say we admitted, so it's okay.
LM-power-inductions. He promised that he would not interrupt any URLs. I said, yes, you will.
Why don't you say it again?
I said, yes, you will.
Say it again.
It's MikeMandelHypnosis.com/LM-power-inductions. I should probably make a shorter version of that, but I didn't expect to ever put that on a podcast. But sign up for that free tutorial of Mike teaching you how to do this stuff. It's really awesome. And that leads to a really good offer for a power inductions course at a very discounted price, which is about an hour-long awesome training you'll love. This is one of our most popular trainings. That said, I think it is time for us to move, Mike, to a commercial break.
Tonight on the Gus Grissom Network, Season 9 premiere of the Honey Hallmark Show.
Honey, honey Hallmark, the girl who loves greeting cards. It's honey, honey Hallmark, the girl who loves greeting cards. She's got frizzy red hair and she drives a school bus, but she's no different than the rest of us. It's honey, honey Hallmark, the girl who loves greeting cards.
Stop singing and finish your homework.
Honey, just back from Walmart. The girl who loves greeting cards. The girl who loves greeting cards. Tonight, Honey is back from her incarceration in Guantanamo Bay and happy to be home. She immediately heads home to change out of her orange incarceration and interrogation suit, and then it's off to the mall to check out the cards in the brand new Gus Grissom Christmas selection.
That's right, Mike. But unfortunately, the Mandela effect has kicked in and nobody's heard of the cards. In this reality, Gus Grissom has never existed, and Honey is sent to Berkshire, England for a lengthy stay at Fairmile Asylum.
That's correct, Chris. And just imagine all the zany fun that develops when she discovers her roommate at Fairmile Asylum is Larry Gomez, the man who might be Mexican.
The Honey Hallmark Show, tonight on the Gus Grissom Network. The girl who loves greeting cards. Okay, we are back, and let's continue. We have a question. This is a text question that was sent in from Winnie in the Netherlands. So we're continuing on our discussion about hypnosis here, right? So we have now discussed the idea that you can set up hypnosis conversationally using George Miller's 7 ± 2 model of keeping conscious bits of information occupied so that you can layer people into trance.
Nice.
And Winnie's question is, clients often say they don't feel they were hypnotized. So is it working?
What a great question.
Now,
and it's a very common one.
I love this question because I want everyone who's thinking about this to just step back and think about the last time that you were in a natural trance. Let's say you were watching a movie, or let's say you were maybe cooking a wonderful meal and enjoying all those smells, or cutting up the fresh ingredients, or maybe you were on a walk with your husband or your wife out in a park and just watching the snow fall on a nice winter day, or lying on a beach on vacation,
or
sipping
sitting in
on
a reclining
whatever
chair
it
with some
was,
smooth jazz
something,
playing.
yeah, where you were just really just kind of zoned out and enjoying the experience. How did you know that you were in that trance, as we're going to call it?
How do you know you weren't in one?
How do you know you weren't?
Yeah.
When your attention is absorbed and you're really in a moment, or, you know, a negative kind of trance. Let's say you were having a really bad argument with a spouse or a friend, or, you know, Mike and I were just having a horrendous fight.
Horrendous one, you fool.
The business is almost about to fold. No, folks. No, imagine though, you're having a big argument or something. You're caught up in something. I have a 14-year-old at home, so this happens all the time. Really stupid fights. You know what I mean? Those are trances too. And they don't feel any different because they're normal.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I can't remember who it was who said this, but it's a hypnosis trainer. And God bless him, it might be Cal Banyan. I'm not sure. But he actually said something along the lines of, he'll say to a person, okay, you want to know what hypnosis feels like? Okay, just take a deep breath, relax, close your eyes, sit there. And they do. And after about 10 seconds, he says, open your eyes. He said, that's what hypnosis feels like.
Yeah.
And that's really clever and elegant because it's pre-framing that it's not what you probably think. Like, some people have this idea that hypnosis is going to feel like you've had a general anesthetic. You come out of it with no recollection of what's gone on. Yes, there are trances like that, without a doubt, but not always. Mm-hmm. The way you do trance is perfect for you. And it used to drive me nuts when I was a therapist 20 years ago because no matter how many times, Chris, I would say, you're going to feel normal. You'll be comfortably relaxed. You'll know everything going on. You'll be able to hear everything I'm saying to you. They would still say afterwards, I don't think I was hypnotized. Why
I heard everything
you said. And yeah, I knew everything going. Yeah, you have to hear what I'm saying or you can't respond to me. You know, yeah, it's a common thing. And I think enough pre-frame that there's no right or wrong way to do this. Actually, that's not quite true. There's a lot of wrong ways.
There's a lot of wrong ways to do anything.
Based on some of the trainers I've seen. But if you tell a person, they don't have to feel like they were hypnotized to get the result they want.
Yeah, and that said, we often encourage our students to use convincers.
You want to explain them?
Yeah, let's not only explain them, but let's come up with a few, maybe some clever new ones. In fact, Mike, here's an idea. Maybe we put together a nice blog post or video or something like that on 10 unique or interesting
why
convincers.
Make it 10? Why maybe 10. Just say the power
2,
of
3,
hypnotic
4.
convincers.
Well,
then I don't have to come up with 10
Let's
of them.
give people some ideas, and we can start them here. Maybe we can publish this as a blog post or a video later, but just as an idea, because I'm the marketing guy. Here's the simplest convincer is you just have somebody be in charge of their own relaxation of their eyelids. And as long as they hold on to that relaxation and they give them a good test and find that they won't work, that's a nice way for people to understand that they were in a relaxed state where their eyelids didn't work.
Comes from Dave Ellman, too. Yeah,
it's right out of his book, Hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
Another one that we always teach in class is leg catalepsy.
I love leg catalepsy.
You talk about this.
I love leg catalepsy. When a muscle is cataleptic or a muscle group are cataleptic, you've got to realize all that's happening, or muscle group is cataleptic, is what I meant to say. Language police caught myself. Ding. What you've got to realize is happening is the agonist and the antagonist muscles go into perfect balance. So a limb may float in the air, eyelids don't work, so it might be that it becomes rigid or just goes limp. With leg catalepsy, the legs don't work. And it's funny because the person can't stand up.
Hey, I want to mention that this balanced tonicity, the balance can be 0 from both. So if both muscles are completely relaxed, then you have balanced tonicity.
That's a very good point.
And the limb is completely limp.
That's
it's just
really good
loose
point.
and relaxed, right? Whereas if it's floating in the air, then the balanced tonicity has to do with the fact that it's actually floating and not moving, as opposed to limp and not moving.
And all of this contains a metaphor. So certain of you listening can notice now that your limpness that you've experienced in the past is gone.
Can just
and
be
completely
gone. That's right. All the way up.
Send us money.
At attention. Okay. All right. So we would encourage people to go through some sort of guided imagery around being a child at the beach, and we all remember digging holes and maybe burying ourselves up to our legs, or burying your friend or your friends burying
sand.
You know, this comfortable, safe. You don't want to do this with a claustrophobic person.
No.
But there's, there's all these ways that you can create convincers. Another classic convincer would be that, let's say the hand is stuck to the face, or the feet are stuck to the floor.
Why are you pulling your neck while you're talking? You're stretching.
I think I'm working on the turkey neck.
Don't, buddy. I've got one. You'll get that when you're older.
Let's get back to convincers.
Let's talk about, convincers. The two convincers that appear in the Ericksonian model, I'm still primarily
natural
Ericksonian, are naturally occurring ones, but you can suggest them into existence too, which are time distortion and amnesia.
Yeah.
If the person has, like one young actor I worked with, he was in trance for over 90 minutes. He came out, thought about 5 or 6 minutes had passed. He accused me of changing all the clocks, including the wristwatch he was wearing. And we're in his apartment where I did the work. And if you have a huge time distortion or amnesia for a big section of what's happened, you will have no doubt that you were in trance.
Yeah. You'll also be able to get people to figure out that, hey, something happened here. I must have been hypnotized. If you're doing something like having their unconscious spontaneously bring a memory to the surface that was hidden in the past, or that they hadn't thought of for long.
Memory.
They can surprise themselves in hypnosis by remembering things that they hadn't thought of for a long time. And it's very easy to suggest that a positive memory from your childhood will just float to the surface now. And then you can have them talk about it, or if it's a sufficiently deep trance or whatever. These are just ways that you can convince people that they were actually hypnotized that don't involve the classic phenomena of, hands stuck to the table or eyelids.
But having said all this, and with this we'll close this point off, but having said all this, you don't have to believe you were hypnotized in order for it to work.
That's right.
I was going to be on a TV show in Britain when my last tour there, and this guy phoned me up, and somebody had just gone through some horrendous thing where they claimed hypnosis had injured them or whatever, and they thought they were a toaster oven or something. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, he and I were going to be on the show, and he basically phoned me at my hotel and said, here's what we're going to say. We're going to say this, we're going to say this, we're going to say this. And one of the things he wanted to say was, it's not hypnosis that makes people change. It's the belief in hypnosis. And I said, no, I'm not going with you on that. You're reducing it to a placebo effect. That's not what it is. We're accessing areas of the brain. We're changing unconscious resources, bring them to the surface, installing them, and so on. Anyway, we were never on the show together, but I was planning on we're
running short on time. I know you're giving me the cues here that we've been running on for about
Chris, we're getting slow on time.
Well, getting close to the 40-minute mark at this point. So there's some things that we planned for this podcast that we will not be able to.
We're doing a series on this anyway.
We'll continue. Exactly. We're shooting for about a 40-minute-ish long episode, and we're going to continue with this series. So we will add some more stuff in.
So send in your audio questions still.
But absolutely. Send them to info@MikeMandelHypnosis.com, because that way they go to both of us. The thing I wanted to say, though, is, and we've said this before, so is hypnosis placebo effect? No, it isn't purely, but the placebo effect can be useful as an amplifier in so many different situations. So if you have a client that is going through some process which can be described as scientific hypnosis, and they happen to believe that what's happening is powerful, they will probably get a better experience. It will be amplified, right?
Very good
Does that
point,
make
Chris.
sense?
Yes, it does. And what people typically don't think of is even active drugs have a placebo effect too. The placebo effect will cause them to work even stronger.
Yeah, not only that, but the drug companies take advantage of it and research. They test the heck out of this. So they'll put a package using a certain color or a pill size, or maybe split it into 2 pills, because psychologically taking 2 feels like it's more than taking 1.
Which is Richard Bandler's great line, new extra strength placebo, twice as much inactive ingredient.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So if the drug companies that make Tylenol, Advil, you name the drug, whatever, if they're taking advantage of placebo, despite the fact that there's actual efficacy from the drug, i.e. it works, right? Then that tells you something. That tells you, hey, okay, if hypnosis works, if the process that you're going to do with someone can help them feel less pain or no pain at all, or overcome a trauma or an emotional problem that they were dealing with, whatever it is, and you can get them engaged in believing that the process is happening,
you get
that's
a stronger effect,
better.
Stronger.
So just think about that. Yeah, well, I think we'll touch a bit more on that in the
I think
upcoming.
So, yeah.
Now, we have, there were 3 other things that we wanted to cover that we're not going to get a chance because they're going to take too long. So in the next episode, we're going to mark this right now so we remember that we're going to continue on by talking about the power of engaging emotions. Then we're going to talk about calibration, because, Mike, this is like number 1 thing that you teach in the beginning of every class, is the importance of calibration, i.e. noticing what's going on. And we're going to talk about the Mandel triangle. So we'll save that for episode 115, I believe. Let's just see if it makes sense to include questions from Nicholas in Davenport, Iowa. Are we going to throw this one? No, we're going to throw that in the next podcast because that's about calibration. And I think with that, we are safe to move
to the empowering question.
Empowering question. So I hope you enjoyed so far that this is part 2 of our series on hypnosis and principles and fundamentals. Yeah, don't clap into the microphone, people. We'll continue on. It's going to be awesome. So here's your empowering question. Ask yourself, what can I simplify in my hypnotic work, or really any work, by dealing with principles instead of scripts? And what is the script of my life that I need to stop reciting to people?
That's nice. I like the way you sort of left it.
I'm not even going to read it again.
I know, it's nice. It's hanging there. I've just got the Zeigarnik effect loop. It just people, ... There's a huge ellipsis on that. That's good, man.
All right.
Well, it's time for the Meta 5, Chris, which is better than a metaphor.
Because it's a metaphor plus 1. That's extra strength placebo.
Ours were awesome. This is a story told of a man who was traveling through India. And as you may know, there are 2 primary types of elephants. There's African elephants, the ones with the large ears, and there's Indian elephants, have the smaller ears. And as the man was moving through the streets of Calcutta and finding his way through all the traffic, both foot and motorized, he saw a man who had an elephant. And it's a sacred animal. This elephant was enormous, large bull elephant, a male elephant standing there. And right by the side of the road, it had a chain around its leg that wasn't very heavy. And the chain was fastened to what looked like a tent peg in the ground. Now, an elephant can easily turn your car over. And this elephant was staying right where this peg was in the ground. And the man was confused about this, why he didn't just rip this out and run away. And he went and spoke to the owner. And the man explained to him. He said when the elephant was a baby, he chained it with a small chain and a peg, which kept it in place. And as it grew, they adjusted the size of the chain around its ankle, but they kept the same peg. And it just, over time, never believed it could pull it out and walk away.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. This has been Brain Software, episode 114, part 2 of our multi-part series on the fundamentals and principles of hypnosis. I'm Chris Thompson, and that's Mike Mandel in the chair beside me.
Hurrah!
But you can't see him, and that's okay, because he's really there. Trust me. Head on over to our website, MikeMandelHypnosis.com. If you want to find out all the events that we talked about earlier in the podcast, the live classes, go to MikeMandelHypnosis.com/events. And if you're brand new to us, make sure from our homepage, the MikeMandelHypnosis.com homepage, make sure you sign up for the Brain Software ebook. It's right there on the homepage, and you will love it. And we'll see you again.
Thanks again.
In episode 115 coming up in a couple of weeks.
And
good night.
Scarecrow, Scarecrow, the soldiers of the king feared his name. Scarecrow, on the southern coast of England, there's a legend people tell of days long ago when the great Scarecrow would ride from the jaws of hell, and he'd laugh with a fiendish yell. With his clothes all torn and tattered, through the black of night he'd ride. From the marsh to the coast like a demon ghost, he'd rob the rich and hide, and he'd laugh till he split his side. Scarecrow, Scarecrow, the soldiers of the king feared his name. Scarecrow, Scarecrow. Let's have the Scarecrow laugh again. That's horrifying, I can do a better one. Aren't you glad he didn't laugh like this, Andy? He'd laugh with a fiendish yell. Oh, that's fabulous.